We're on a 2005, I think, Honda ST1300, also known as the Pan-European.
On5.com. On5.com.
You know, in my other videos I've talked about potentially, I suppose, upgrading or changing bikes from Manfred. I'm getting more and more into the touring, and Manfred is not a sensible option for touring, especially when Mrs. KB has shown an interest in wanting to join me. It's not fair to have her sitting on the back of Manfred for 3 to 10 days getting a sore bottom. We'll pull up shortly and we'll have a little bit of a walk around of this bike, but I just want to quickly go over a few of this bike's features. First of all, it's a 1300cc V4. It's got basically the same motor as the Honda CTX1300. It's a shaft-driven bike. It's got ABS. It doesn't have cruise control or anything like that. It doesn't have a huge amount of gadgetry for a large, I suppose, luxury touring bike. It does have this. Whoa, an electronic screen, and the amount of wind the screen cuts out is huge. I'm not getting any wind buffering on my body whatsoever. My legs are behind the fairing, behind the motor, so I'm not feeling the wind on my legs. The screen is deflecting the wind well up over my head, and I would assume it would be well up over the pillion passenger's head as well. Looking straight through the screen itself is not too bad. Looking slightly out the side of the screen is like looking through a fishbowl. It sort of distorts your view a little bit, which is a little bit disconcerting, makes you feel a little bit drunk. But the fact that you can adjust the screen with relative ease is pretty good. The instrumentation on the dash, we've got a fuel gauge, which is nice. It's a nice extra, having a fuel gauge. It also tells me how many litres per 100 kilometres it's consuming, and currently sitting on, well, geez, sitting on too fast. I'm currently sitting on 110 kilometres an hour. Boom. And we're consuming, or we can do 15 kilometres per litre on Manfred. The fuel range is 10 kilometres per litre, so straight away I've increased my range by 50%, which can only be a good thing. It's very easy to speed on this bike, I can tell you that much. It doesn't feel hugely powerful, I have to say. I would have thought with 1300 cc's that yeah, you'd feel a bit more torque, but it's not an overly torquey bike. The seating position, I'm very upright, very upright. There's no pressure on my back. The seat itself is very comfortable. It's wide, it's deep, and long. So the seat's very comfortable. My feet are directly under my knees. They're not cocked back like I have on a sport bike, and they're not in front of my knees like you'd experience on a cruiser. It's also got a switch here to raise and lower the angle of the headlight, which, from what I understand, is if you've got a passenger on the back, obviously it's going to push the back of the bike down, which would raise the front up. The effect of that happening is when the back of the bike goes down, even your low beams will probably blind people. So yeah, you can alter the angle of the headlight. Going over bumps, the shock absorbers are doing a marvellous job. It's a very soft ride over bumps. I'm loving the seating position. It's not an exciting bike to ride, like it doesn't fill me with giggles and butterflies. It's a very reassuring bike to ride, in as much that I feel well planted, I feel stable, I feel safe. The exhaust on this is very, very quiet, so all I can hear is the engine. So we'll pull over up here and we'll have a little bit of a look around the bike and this beautiful scenery. Putting your feet down is the cowling or the fairing is kind of in the way. In fact, I was going to stay here, that's the question. Ooh. Okay, don't fall over. Okay, so this is it, the Honda ST1300 Pan-European. I think for I don't know, a bigger bike. I don't think it's an ugly bike. I'm a little bit undecided about those mirrors, but there's actually crash protection in those. There's a frame, so if you drop the bike, it's protected. So there's actually reinforcing bars in here. There's also crash protection down here. Clearly the last person took it through some mud, but yeah, I don't think it's an ugly bike. It comes standard with the two panniers. Obviously someone's added a factory top box, but it's, as I say, it's shaft driven, dual exhausts there. What year is it? Yeah, 2006 with 38,000 k on the clock. But it's quite a large bike, but surprisingly it's surprisingly nimble for a large bike. I don't know if you can adjust the suspension at all. If you own an ST1300 or you know someone that's got one, you may be able to answer the question for me. It's got rider written on the seat. Oh, I don't know who else would be sitting there. Not the pillion passenger. It's the controls for the heated hand grips. The difference in screen height is quite significant. So we'll put that all the way up and step back and have a look. I think that looks extremely ugly with the visor up from the front and from the side, but clearly the wind would be deflected right over the pillion passenger, which is really, really handy, especially if it starts raining.